They say night belongs to two ancient predators, the ones who thirst for blood and the ones who hunt beneath the full moon. Vampires and werewolves, opposites in every sense, yet bound by a thread that has shadowed humanity for centuries. But what if their feud was only half the story? The lore of these creatures stretches far beyond Hollywood's silver screen. Their roots dig deep into the soil of superstition, where disease, fear, and fascination gave rise to monsters that still haunt our dreams. Tonight, we uncover the hidden bond between fang and fang, between blood and moonlight. Long before cinema gave us sleek immortals and savage beasts, there were stories whispered around firelight. In ancient Slavic lands, villagers spoke of the vampire, a corpse that rose from its grave to drink the blood of the living. Further west, in Greek legend, there was Lycaon, the king cursed by Zeus to become the first wolfman after serving the god human flesh. Both tales, punishment for hubris, both born from the fear of what happens when humanity oversteps its bounds. The vampire and the werewolf were not enemies yet. In fact, in their earliest myths, they were reflections of the same idea, man becoming monster. Where the vampire represented the corruption of spirit, the werewolf embodied the corruption of flesh. Two sides of the same curse, two paths to the same damnation. Mythology feeds on mystery, and mystery thrives in times of plague. When the Black Death swept across Europe, corpses were found with blood at their mouths. The explanation was simple: decomposition. But to terrified villagers, it meant only one thing: the dead were feeding. At the same time, rabies spread through both humans and dogs, causing fits of rage, sensitivity to light, and violent biting. Sound familiar? Those afflicted by rabies were the living image of the werewolf. The diseases of the flesh and of the grave merged into folklore, binding vampire and wolf in one dark ecology of fear. Before Christianity's rise, many pagan tribes saw wolves and the dead not as monsters, but as gatekeepers. The Dacians, ancestors of the Romanians, worshipped Zalmoxis, a god who promised immortality through death. His priests wore wolf skins, howling to summon spirits. When Christianity came, these old rites were forbidden, and those who practiced them became heretics, witches, and monsters. The wolf priest became the werewolf. The deathless acolyte became the vampire. One cast into the wilderness, the other sealed in the tomb, yet both born from the same forbidden worship. It was not light versus darkness. It was the old gods versus the new. In the Balkans, the two myths finally collided. Here tales spoke of the vrikolakas, corpses that rose to drink blood, and the werewolf priests, men who hunted them. But in some villages the line blurred. They said that a man bitten by a vampire would rise as a werewolf before death, and as a vampire after. An endless cycle, beast by night, blood drinker by eternity. In folklore, these creatures weren't rivals. They were stages of transformation, evolution of the curse. To become a werewolf was the first step. To die as one was to awaken as a vampire. As Christianity spread, the church turned these pagan creatures into symbols of sin. Silver, sacred and pure, became the weapon against both. The crucifix repelled the undead, and the silver bullet destroyed the shapeshifter. Two curses, one cure. Their shared enemy was not each other. It was faith. Yet the paradox deepened. In some regions, priests were said to become werewolves themselves, not as sinners, but as divine warriors sent to hunt vampires. In Croatia, the Strigoi was the vampire, and the Kudlak, a werewolf, fought it on the astral plane, an eternal duel between dark and darker. Perhaps the church needed both monsters to explain the unexplainable. By the 1600s, these tales had merged into something more intricate. In Romanian legend, both species were bound by blood. The vampire was said to command wolves, its loyal beasts, the only creatures unafraid of it. Even in Bram Stoker's Dracula, written centuries later, the Count could summon wolves with a single whisper, "Listen to them, the children of the night." In this moment, the ancient bond resurfaced, not as enemies, but as master and servant, the immortal calling to the primal, a hierarchy of darkness. Then came the Age of Reason, when monsters were dissected under the microscope of science. Vampirism was linked to porphyria, a rare blood disorder that caused light sensitivity and discolored teeth. Lycanthropy was redefined as psychosis, a delusion of becoming a beast. But science could not kill the legend. It only gave it new flesh. The Victorian imagination, obsessed with repression and desire, turned both creatures into metaphors for forbidden hunger. In literature, vampires represented lust and control, while werewolves embodied rage and release. Together they became the dark anatomy of human nature, our two most dangerous impulses, eternalized in myth. When cinema rose, it resurrected the undead once more. Universal Pictures gave us the 1931 Dracula and 1941 Wolfman, two monsters carved from folklore, destined to collide. Their rivalry became legend, culminating in films like Abbott and Costello, Meet Frankenstein and Van Helsing. But beneath the spectacle, the connection endured. In the 21st century, the line blurred again. In Underworld, vampires and werewolves, lycans, share a genetic origin, both descended from a single immortal ancestor. In Twilight, their feud masks an older truth: coexistence through love and blood. Modern storytellers have simply rediscovered what ancient myth already knew. They are family, bound not by hatred but by heritage. The vampire and the werewolf are mirrors held up to the human soul. The vampire fears the sun, a symbol of exposure, of truth. The werewolf fears the moon, a symbol of madness, of surrender. One hides from nature, the other is enslaved by it. But both are trapped between two worlds, human and beast, mortal and eternal. Perhaps that is why they fascinate us still. They are not monsters at war. They are the same story, told in different tongues. Some esoteric traditions go even further. Occult texts from the 19th century describe a forgotten sect known as the Children of the Red Moon. Worshippers who believe vampires and werewolves descended from the same divine curse. Their creed claimed that the first vampire drank the blood of a slain wolf to gain its power, and that his descendants bore both traits in secret. The beast within was not an enemy to the vampire, but its origin. Whether myth or madness, the story endures, a reminder that darkness often shares a single source. Every predator needs its reflection. Through centuries of evolution, one truth remains. The vampire and the werewolf are bound by fear, by blood, by the endless rhythm of hunger and transformation. Each time the moon rises, the curse renews. Each time the blood spills, the bond strengthens. Perhaps they are not rivals at all, but echoes, the heartbeat and the pulse of the same ancient night. In every culture, every age, we tell the same story with new names. The vampire drinks life to live forever. The werewolf surrenders life to feel alive. They are the twin guardians of the threshold between man and monster, reminding us that beneath civilization's mask, something wild and ancient still stirs. The connection between them is not rivalry, it is balance. Blood and moonlight, immortality and instinct. forever chasing one another through the dark. The night has many faces, and some of them still remember each other.